please give it up this morning for Matt and Drew.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, okay.
No, but I did hastily minimize my Discord.
Hello. Oh, hey, hey.
Hey, how's it going? Hey guys, good to see you.
Wow, good crowd.
Yeah, thanks for coming out today. I always feel very bougie coming to the Grove.
Yeah, you're more of an Americana guy.
Ouch!
Where should we start? Let's talk about the origins of this show. And if you want to, please feel free to show things as well. But yeah, where did Amphibia come from?
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll talk a little, look a little, talk a little, look a little. It's gonna be very free form, so please put up with us. So after Gravity Falls ended, I was Gravity Falls, one of the greatest creative experiences of my life. Anyone here seen that show? It's a pretty damn good show. When it ended, so sad. I didn't really have anything to roll onto, so one night, Alex Hirsch, the creator, was like, you should pitch your own show, man. And it's crazy in life how sometimes until somebody else has vocalized something, it seems like impossible. It's like, no way. But the second he said it, I was like, yeah, why shouldn't I try? So I got
New show, eh?
yeah. I just make it up, it comes from me. Create my own economy, So I started pitching, and I pitched 3 things, and Amphibia was actually the third of the things that I pitched to Disney, yeah.
And it went through a kind of prolonged development period.
Yes. Let's
see.
Have some good visuals for that.
Good.
Yeah, absolutely. This thing doesn't have volume, right? Anyone? Volume on this TV? Rachel? I just want to make sure it doesn't suddenly start blasting the footage, because I was just going to play the animated sizzle piece in the background.
Ooh.
Let's see.
I think we'll find out together.
Oh my God, this is gonna be frightening. But I mean, I have some control, so I'm gonna mute it actually. No, I don't want you to hear it. It's okay. So this was actually the very first version of the show that got made in development. This is called sort of a sizzle piece. It's like an animated piece that is supposed to give you a taste of the show. So it's some jokes and some images, and there's a fun montage at the end with a pop song. But basically, my original vision for the show was very based on 80s fantasy, and it was brown and it was muddy, and everything was green, and the color palette was very restrained. It was also a much darker show in theory. There was the stakes were higher. There was magic and swords and dead bodies and stuff. And basically we did focus testing, which is where they get a bunch of kids in a room and they give you feedback on the show. And the results were not great. So from there we sort of recalibrated and took the show in a different visual direction. That was one of the big notes, and that's a great thing to talk about too, because you're all holding the Art of book, you know what I mean? So you can really see the difference when you look at this piece. Look at this stuff, it's very swampy, very muddy. It's very atmospheric, which is what I really wanted. And,
Yeah.
Yeah. You've seen this before, Drew, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting because we were talking about the references for this, and they were all 80s. It was Krull, and what were some of the other things that you were looking at?
It was
Labyrinth,
the Dark Crystal.
yeah.
She has a lightsaber and stuff.
Yeah.
It was magical.
Yeah, but I understand why it was recalibrated. I mean, I personally wish I could have seen this version maybe, but also inspired by 80s RPGs too, right?
Yeah, totally. It's very Dungeons and Dragons,
Yeah.
the whole thing. And Sprig was quite different too.
Yes.
The characters were quite different, except Anne. She's exactly the damn same. But
So, where was this in the development? Because you had we talked about this in the book. I don't know how much of this made it in, but that you were sort of developing it for over a year.
Yeah, so like a healthy development period for a television show, I feel like is about a year.
Okay.
And like if a show gets developed in like 6 to 9 months, it's like, whoa, baby, you're cooking over there. Like they love it. You know what I mean? It's just like sailed on through. So after about a year, that's when it goes to focus testing. It was called Amphibiland too. That was the original title. After the focus testing came back, it was like the worst because the worst thing you want to get from focus testing is like kids thought it was like okay. Because like if kids hated it, they're gonna not make it. And if kids loved it, well then they'll make it. But if kids are kind of like, I don't know, I like this, didn't like this,
yeah,
sort of like this, then the network is just kind of like, duh, and like, what do we do? You know what I mean? It's not as clear. So like then we entered the like, and you never want to hear this, like your project is going into redevelopment. That's like cursed.
Right. So you showed this what 6 months in?
This is a year in.
This is a year.
This is like a full development cycle.
And then you got another. So that was like 6 more months of redevelopment.
Yes.
Time.
Then we got a writer, and he was fantastic. His name was Jack Ferriello, and he was such an amazing guy. I'm rubbish with a trackpad. That shows like my age, I'm sure. And here's a great kind of just like visual example of like, you know, so the original show, this is sort of like the palette for it, you know what I mean? Again, it's very restrained. And then when Ian Worrell, who was the art director of Gravity Falls, a really good friend of mine, he actually came on to season 1 of Amphibia. And when he heard the note, like, they just thought it was a little muddy and boring and drab, he was like, I know what to do. And so he kind of like took it and he completely injected it with lots of color, but while still trying to retain the things. It's still a muddy, swampy, kind of prickly place. But he really, like, you can see that's very, like, clear.
Yeah. And there was also the pressure of the way that shows were being chosen at that time, which was a crazy bake-off situation.
Yeah, it was the Hunger Games.
It was the Hunger Games, and you made it out alive.
Yes, I killed the other shows. I ate them. Well, and it's funny because, like, you know, you'll be in there in development, and it's you, and it's 2 other shows, not your competition. They'll be like, I'm like, is this like the, I think I literally say, is this like the Hunger Games? And they were like, no, what? But I'm like, but 3 shows enter, and one show leaves, and they're like, what?
They were like, it's more like Battle Royale.
Yeah. And I remember too, actually, I heard like, so there's 2 other shows, I won't name them. One of them I heard got like passed on. I was like, oh man, only one left. And then that one got passed on. And I was like, I got it. But then when I went into the office of the main guy, and he was like, man, I need to talk to you. And I was like, this is it. So I go up there and I see on his desk is like the series Bible for one of the other shows. I was like, I don't have it. But no, I don't know why it was on his desk, but he was like, you're not passed on, but you're not greenlit. And I did like that dog thing. I was like, what are we doing? Yeah.
So that was another. So 18 months into this, you're like, what are we going or not?
Oh yeah, totally. No, like, and then after 6 or 7 months of redevelopment afterwards, I was like, just kill me, like make it or don't make it, like I don't care, you know what I mean? But I'm very, very glad they did. You know, I'm happy about that. Here's some other stuff. This was like Grimes' castle, like, you know, it's very like He-Man. I love all that kind of like texture and.
Do you want to talk about maintaining that, like, kind of initial, like, that's the question is, how do you maintain excitement and enthusiasm for something as it drags on for months and months?
Oh, it's insanely difficult. Yeah. And I think all of you who are probably amazingly creative people will find yourself in this position one day where you're really excited about the project in the first, 4 months, oh my god, this is amazing. And then month 5, month 6, you don't ever want to see it again, you know? So it's just all about, it's a lot of tricking yourself into being this is still fine,
right?
You know?
And how did you maintain that original, you know, because there are things, you're right, that have survived from that original sweaty fantasy book. But yeah, how did you kind of reconcile that with the new direction?
You know, for us, the real trick, and I say this to anyone that has a project, you know, start from a place of theme and of strong relationships. So no matter what you do to our show, as long as it's still about this little frog that becomes friends with this kind of mean girl from Earth, like it's still the same show. So like these are some of the earliest development drawings where like Sprig is like bringing food to a monster that he finds in the woods, and it turns out to be Anne, and it's like, well, I could see that in the current version of the show. Like that stuff didn't.
This was
change.
a little bit more hardcore with the bones.
Yeah, there's bones and stuff, and the strong implication is like, did she kill those things? Did she eat them? Like I don't know, but like yeah, it was a little bit older feeling too at times, where it was like, oh, maybe she's a little bit more of a warrior, maybe he's a little bit more of a warrior. But the relationship is always stayed the same, and I think that's the most important thing. So it's like, they can take everything away from me, but they can't take this away,
Yes.
you know?
And I feel like as the show progressed, which you can show whatever, you were able to fold in the more kind of hardcore fantasy elements.
We were all doing this kind of 2010s era where it was like, we call it like Trojan horsing, like the cool story where it's like, it's a fun like little episodic show, and then like season 3 you're like, how did we get here? Like what's going on?
Yeah.
You know, like yeah.
Was it always the 2 11-minute segments, or did you ever plan on a kind of larger story?
Great question. It was always 11-minute, and honestly it was because of Steven Universe, because I watched Steven Universe and I was like, oh, that's great.
Yeah,
like 11 minutes
you can do that.
is fantastic.
Yeah.
And I knew too that like, you know, this show was going to start a little lower stakes so that maybe you could pack more in then, more characters, more. And you know, with a 22-minute show, it's a little harder to have the whole episode about the little root beer guy, like in Adventure Time, you know what I mean? Like, but for a 22-minute, you're like, this is kind of testing my patience a little bit.
Yeah.
But for an 11-minute, you're kind of like, I'll take whatever.
Yeah.
Do the episode about the snails, you know what I mean? Like,
well, let's talk about the structure of the different seasons if you want to. Bring it up. I know that season 1, you were thinking a lot about The Simpsons and how that community is so fully fleshed out. And every character could have their own story.
Yeah, there was a lot of like, well, actually in the first version in development of the show, there was no town. The Planter family was kind of out there.
Yeah, they were in the woods.
Yeah, they were out in the woods. It was very like Bone inspired. Do you guys like Bone? Have you guys ever? It's a fantastic series that has that vibe of like, just a grandma and her granddaughter out in the woods, and if they go to town, it's like a 1-week journey.
Yeah,
and I loved that. I love that isolationist feel. But Disney was like, you know, no, like we want like a town and characters, and like, funny jokes and stuff, Matt. You know.
And they had some research that proved that, right, or something, wasn't
Oh yeah, well there was.
Oh, there were kids. Kids were like the familiarity of a.
Yeah. There was. It was all about like halls and malls, man. They called it halls and malls, where it was like kids need to see things that like they can ground themselves with. But it research, it's just you know.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean anything. Because it's like it sounds really good one year, and then the next year it's like kids hate halls and malls.
Put them back in the forest. So season 2.
Yes.
You have
yeah, I got an image for that.
Okay.
Just very quickly, this is super. When Ian came on, he was like, "What if it was like watercolors?" And he actually, the crazy guy, was like, "What if we did the backgrounds on paper and we scanned them?" And I said, like, "No, absolutely not. It was gonna just destroy the production." You know what I mean?
That's when Amphibia became the most expensive show.
Yeah. No, we're not doing that. But these are all simulated watercolors, like these are brushes and stuff. He's a real genius, and this was like his first kind of like, what if it still had a lot of that like watercolor texture, and I was like, still pull it back, like let's I love these things, but like I think it works great in something like Winnie the Pooh, like the classic, because they're in a book.
Yeah.
So there's like a meta contextual reason why you can see the texture of the artwork, like, oh, it's watercolor strokes because. Don't you know it? They're in a book. Yeah. But I'm like, they're not in a book. Yeah. You know what I mean? I want it to feel like real. I want the danger to feel real. These are another early thing he did where he's trying to merge the character into, and like, he's trying to find what we call like look of picture. Because it's like, you can do amazing backgrounds and amazing character designs and like put them together and they like don't work. It happens actually a lot, yeah. But he was experimenting with this. I don't know why. Ian, he keeps telling me like, and I didn't put this one in the art book because there's some story with this drawing where he was like, I referenced something. I was like, I don't know what, man. He's like, you can't use it. I'm like, did you copy something?
Ian said that?
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know what, it must be a photo. He must have like, it must be directly from a photo or something, but he was just like, you can't use it in the book.
It's beautiful.
I love it. And then finally, this is sort of where he arrived, which was like, oh, still got a lot of that earthy feel, but like, oh, this is a believable place that people could live in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So season 2, yeah, let's talk about it.
Let's talk about season 2. The lore was building.
Yes.
Season 2.
So season 1, we had our like froggy, farmy, fun times, and visuals to support that, right? Because the visuals are all just supporting this 3-act story. But season 2 was
season 2 was the road.
Yeah,
movie,
this is
right?
where like stuff got really crazy. Look at this beautiful Ian again. This guy's crazy. And the whole idea was bigger, a road trip. You know, we're gonna go out there and see the rest of the world.
And how does that work in the budget of a cable television show? Because you're doing new characters every week, you're doing new backgrounds. Yeah.
Great question. It almost didn't. So
Okay.
like season 2 it's a lot of people's favorite seasons, and for good reason, because like it has such a great combination of adventure and like comedy, but also like because of the way our show was designed and pitched to be this like fun kind of pastoral episodic thing, it became very difficult for us to like do the road trip version where we had to like invent a new town and invent a new ecosystem like every time. Yeah, every episode like needed to be a different place, and like it's in the book, which you guys can read. But there's I got frustrated in production once, very funny, because like we had a desert episode and then like another desert episode right after it, and like I'm like, why do we do this? Like we have 2 deserts, it's supposed to feel like a road trip. Now we're gonna have to like work really hard to make them feel like different deserts. So like one has like Sahara and then one is Arizona.
Right.
And it's like, oh, they're very different, but like just know that we were like sweating, you know, like they can't look the same.
Just imagine you screaming,
I
running
was
through the halls.
No, it was all very passive aggressive.
Oh, so we want to do 2 deserts.
Yeah. 2
Great
deserts.
idea. Yeah.
But then it's like that's my fault too, because like I'm managing the writer's room and I'm managing, so I'm like creating my own problems.
Yes.
Where I'm sitting down with them later and like it's also my fault. So yeah. But yeah. But and then also, you know, I'm sure they were hoping to do a little reuse. So reuse is when we take some things from previous episodes and like use it again in the next episode. So they were like, maybe 2 deserts next to each other is a good thing.
Yeah. You had some good cameos in season 2
Yes.
as well.
Yes.
Obviously a show called Amphibia having Kermit the Frog. What a thrill.
Yeah.
For you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the very real Kermit the Frog actually came to visit the crew, and that was like one of our happiest memories. I remember
For a little promotional video, right?
Well,
Yeah.
yes, for a promotional video, we shot something with Kermit where he came, and the whole bit was that he was like a frog consultant or whatever. Yeah, so he would sit down with our artist and be like, no, make it like move like this or whatever. I think he was like, make his arms bigger. Like that was like, make him buff. Like yeah. I'm pretty sure that was it. But I remember, I'll never forget this. Like we had like a storyboard artist or a storyboard revisionist who like that was their first day, and like Kermit's come and they're like, this is like the greatest job. Like that's my first day. It's Kermit.
Then you yelled at that person for the rest of the
No, once again, very passive
That's
aggressive.
okay. Sarcastic.
No yelling.
No yelling. So yeah, how did that work though? Like, was Disney like, hey?
Yeah, so it was actually the Muppets who were interested because on the show, actually I worked on previously, Big City Greens, which is created by Chris and Shane, great show. They had Fozzie Bear on in an episode, and I remember because like all throughout the season they were pitching me this bit. They were like, what if a Muppet came in and he like provided a voice? And I was like, yeah, okay. And they were like, but he's Fozzie Bear in the credits. So it's Fozzie Bear, the actor, the Muppet has come in to do a voice. And I was just kind of like,
You didn't get it.
I don't get it, man. Like, so what, dude? But then they did it, and like, I think Fozzie came in and played a guy named Dr. Enamel or something. And I don't remember if in the credits it said Fozzie Bear or not, but like, it was fun. They shot like a little behind the scenes things where the brothers were like directing Fozzie, like, do you want it again like this or whatever? And the Muppets really liked it. So then the Muppets reached out to us for our thing. So I really benefited from the Houghton's really zany pitch on that one. So credit where credit is due.
Yeah, it's a wonderful episode. And season 2 got you back in the room with Alex Hirsch, who is also in the book.
Yes. Oh, you pointed. I was like, is he here? Hey, buddy. Yes. So we had a great crossover episode.
Yes.
And that was a dream. What ended up happening was that we had a writer you know, in a writer's room, you have these get-togethers where everybody just throws out crazy ideas. There were a lot of I remember one of them was just a note card that said bees. And I was like, I would come in and be like, someone has to explain the bees. And they're like, there's no explanation. And I was like, I don't know, we're not gonna do this episode. But there was also one that was like, Hop Pop's ventriloquist dummy. And there was like a really gross dummy. And I kind of wish we had done that one. There was also like this awful pitch that was going around called like Hot Frog, and it was like so stupid. Basically, in season 1, we were like, what if there was a frog that every time like they were on screen, they were like very like attractive and arresting, and like even Anne was like, I don't know, there's something about that. But like we killed it for obvious reasons, where it was just like, no, this is weird. Like, no, not doing that.
And in the expanded edition of the book, we need
It's
to find
not,
all
no,
of the
no,
hot frog.
no
Let's
hot
put it
frog.
up.
No,
Yes,
no. He had like, someone did a drawing, he had like a chin and everything.
Hashtag save hot
No,
frog.
not good.
All right, fine.
I was like, what was the question? It was like Gravity Falls.
Gravity
Yeah,
Falls.
so that writer, she pitched an oddities museum. And I was like, well, that's so close. We might as well just lean in and do it for real. And so I just called Alex and I was like, hey, I have a pitch for a crossover episode that like doesn't ruin the continuity of either shows. You would be basically playing in this universe. There's a Stan, but it's not Stan, wink wink. There's a Seuss, but it's not Seuss, and they can interact with our characters and it'll be great. And he was super into it, and we put it together, and the writer was super chuffed because she was like a huge fan of Gravity Falls.
Yeah.
So it was she snapped right into it. She wrote just like the show, just like Gravity Falls. It was really great.
Did you know making 2 that 3 was going to be it?
Yeah, so basically season 3 was me being like, I'm not pushing my luck with this. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like first, 3 felt good, whereas there was like 3 girls and there's 3 races, and there was just we were obsessed with 3s on the show. And then every green light for a television show is you're not always sure you're going to get it. So like when we were writing, season 2's ending, which ends on this huge cliffhanger, I was like, man, if we don't get 3, we are hosed. Like that's just it. It will go down.
You're gonna be answering questions about it for the rest
I
of your
know
life.
it would go down in infamy as like one of the craziest like cartoon endings ever, I think. But no, luckily we got season 3, and I was so pleased because to me that meant I could kind of finish the story. And the show has a unique hook, which is that you have these 3 human girls stuck in a different world, and they got like families, and they got like. I felt a little bit of a responsibility to at least get them home.
Yeah. But there was a little hiccup on the way to 3.
Yeah, there was, and actually we struck that from the book.
Yes, we did.
It's not in the book. So you guys all know that there was a whole standards and practices thing with True Colors, and we had a little chunkaroo on it in the book, but they asked us to take it out, and we kindly did. And it wasn't nothing salacious, by the way. It was just, here's what happened. The production got delayed. The air date got delayed. There was a question of the content on screen. Much debate was had.
But you did get to do a little tease for 3 as a compromise.
Yes. At the end of the season 2 finale, there was like a whole teaser for season 3, which was nice. Actually, I'll never forget the head of the studio, like the head of the studio. I could tell he was invested in the story and the characters because I remember after a meeting that had nothing to do with Amphibia, he stopped me and he was like, so do the girls get home? And I was like, I got him,
Season 3, here I come. So season 3 is fun, and if you want to
artwork.
artwork.
This
We
is
have
great.
anything from 2,
This is great. I wanted to show you 2 kinds of concept art. This is the beautiful kind, just gorgeous, but also this is concept art as well for the same idea, which is kind of almost like a fun New Yorker cartoon, right? These are different ways of exploring the same idea where it's oh, this is gag based. So look, a portable shed, that's hilarious, that kind of thing. This is by Steve Wolfhard, who's amazing. The wagon too was a huge challenge because it was CG, it was CGI in the second season. If you ever are watching the show, please take a notice of that because the gang worked really hard on it and it's beautiful, Here, this drawing, absolutely stunning, and we had it printed out really huge in the production. I love the kind of Spirited Away, the walking on water kind of vibe of the place. And, we really wanted our world building to feel very specific and unique and real. So we went all aquatic for Newtopia, and that was a lot of fun. Is there another drawing in here? No. So let me just show you the tentpole image for season 3.
Yes, so season 3 was, the girls have been in the frog universe for the first 2 seasons. Now you're bringing the frogs into our world. And this is a beautiful image.
Yeah, so Philip Bose, our art director for season 3. By the way, this show has had 5 art directors. They're all amazing. But it shows you how difficult this job is because, like, after 1 season, everybody wants to quit. So, and then when the art director is like, I'm out, you're like, show's over. You know, like...
I would think you would be like, I'll draw it myself.
No. Can't paint. But yeah, this Pivos, we call him Pivos. He did this, and it's beautiful, and it really was everything we were looking to do.
Yeah. Were there any specific inspiration? I mean, it's very kind of Splash.
Yeah, Splash.
Yeah.
Has anyone seen Splash?
Anyone seen Splash? All right. Got some Splash heads in the house.
Yeah, it's or E.T.
Yeah.
You know, that very kind of early '90s, late '80s. Crossover kind of fantasy where like a magical creature is you gotta hide him in your basement, like shh, don't tell mom, but I have like a seal in my bathtub or whatever. Like, so we really wanted that vibe for this, like that kind of very specific era of storytelling.
And also wrapping up all of these things that you've seeded through the first 2 seasons. What was that like?
Oh, it was crazy. Like all this shit that we were like on the hook for.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's the fun and scary thing about like doing long form storytelling is you're putting a lot of stuff down, and like some of the stuff may not get paid off, so you really need to focus on like, hey, what's the most important thing here, like the friendship and the character arcs, and like that one character from episode 2 that said he'd be back and never came back, turns out he was just a liar, you know?
Was there any point in making the 3rd season that you're like, maybe I could go on for more, or were you like,
no,
can this be done?
Well, it was also in the pandemic, so we were we were like, you know, it was like that Wallace and Gromit gif with like the railroad tracks, and like we're just trying to keep it together. We were just trying to keep our molecules together. I feel like, and when we finished and we felt that the quality of the last couple episodes was as high as it was, we were so pleased. So.
But you have teased on social media. You and I have not even talked about this. Potential further stories in the universe.
Yes.
Do you want to tease that further?
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, what a great runway. How are we doing on time?
We're good. I mean, you can go on, and then we're gonna.
Okay, before I do the tease, I just speed run through like some of my other assets because like, you know.
Speed run through assets.
Yeah, I got to speed run through these assets. I didn't stay up late last night collecting these to not show them. No, I'm just kidding. No, what a treat, guys. Like, honestly, this book it's an absolute miracle, and I'm incredibly grateful to Tokyo Pop and Disney for like making it happen, because, you know, they don't get made for all the television shows, and they really should.
They rarely get made for the
I know, this is very odd. Check this out. So this is, we went to Korea, and here's me like flipping some honest to goodness, like, you know, if it loads, like, a scene, there's like, can you see there's like Sprig, he's like walking, whoa, it's crazy, right? So actually all the animation was done on paper and with pens, like they actually inked everything with microns. It's absolutely bananas.
And you have art of
And I brought you a really special treat. When you come in and get your signing, I've brought some actual drawings from the show that you can kind of look at over here, and they're really incredible. They're like, just be careful with them, because
Don't sneeze on them.
yeah, they're real. Don't steal them. Check this out. This is like how they stored the animation over there. So I think this is like OKKO and stuff, you know, like but like when they finish the shows, they're archiving all of it, and they store them like this. And I remember walking by, and this is only like a small bit. I was like, this is absolutely incredible.
I would have been like, would it be a real shame if some of these went missing?
Oh, and here was one of the lead animators. She was like, all these trips, by the way, are just us like barging in on their space and being like, can I see it? You know, like, flip it for me. No, but like she did this amazing scene, incredible animator, of like Sprig yanking a rope from like the first episode. Let's see, it looks so good. This is magic, you guys. Look at this. You see him jumping in. He's got the rope in his hand. He's spinning around, and he's gonna pull it. Oh my God. Amazing. So good. And then lastly, I think I just have one of their desks. Yeah. One of their desks.
Nice.
Let's see. Yeah, isn't that cool? And if like you zoom in, you can see them working on the first episode. Isn't that crazy? The light box and everything. Is that
What studio is this?
Is that Frozone up there? This is Rough Draft Korea.
Okay.
So they're most well known for The Simpsons, and
Yeah.
you know what I mean. They do
Legendary.
a lot of these shows. Yeah, for sure. Okay, awesome. Ask me that question again.
So, Matt, you've been
Yeah.
teasing on social media
Yeah.
further adventures
Yes.
in this universe.
Yeah, so we are so happy to say that we are making a graphic novel with Tokyo Pop. It's gonna be like it's gonna be a 10-issue like miniseries, which is gonna be awesome. Like, and when I say like 10-issue miniseries, that's like, you know, oldie times. Like, you get all these comic book issues, you glue them together, you're gonna have like a really big, fun adventure. And so I'm gonna be writing it, and it's gonna be illustrated by the amazing Beatrice Bovo. Please look forward to it. We don't have a ETA window on that, but just know that we're working hard on it.
Strange Voyage sounds like
Strange Voyage.
like a seafaring adventure.
Oh, it's a little bit nautical, yeah. Yeah, I can't share too much about it yet, but yes, it is in that vein.
Sounds fun. I think we have time for some questions. Maybe any of you.
Yeah, how are we doing the mics and stuff? What's the?
I will call on someone, then I will repeat the question for everybody else.
Oh God!
How's
Yeah,
that work?
I love that.
Okay. This gentleman up here, yes.
Would Amphibia ever come back to TV in some form or another?
Would Amphibia come back to TV in some form or another?
I think you mean, like, for example, if the graphic novel did really well and Disney was like, hey, we want to animate this, like that?
I'd say if the show gets continued somehow.
Yeah, I think that's always possible as long as there's a lot of demand, and also there's this really like creepy thing happening right now. I don't know if you know it. It's like the passage of time, and stuff is like nostalgia is being created faster than ever. You'll be like, man, I really miss 2023. You know what I mean? Like, seriously, like people will be like, those were the good days. You know what I mean? And I'm like,
I think the pandemic kind of screwed things up. Yeah. Let's see. How about this gentleman in the Disneyland sweatshirt? Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
What was it like working on the third season during COVID?
Third season during COVID. What was that experience like for you, Matt?
It was very difficult. I think that, you know, you guys were all there. Everyone was trying to figure it out as we went. And for us, you know, we had all this equipment and stuff that we needed, and we were actually like right in the middle of production. Like, we were getting season 2 episodes back from overseas. Very difficult. But honestly, the most difficult part was that you missed out on the creative, organic synergy that you had with your crew. So like, you would do a pitch in the olden days, long time ago, and then everyone would talk about it, like, you know, at lunch, or they're just hanging out, like, wow, that was so cool, except this part, you know what I mean, or something like that. And those little organic interactions, they really make shows better. And I think that in COVID, you know, we were all so distressed, and this goes for just remote work in general, like after like something like a screening, everyone's just like, okay, cool. And like they're like back to Animal Crossing or whatever. You know?
And it's, we don't have this in the book, but the way that you had to lay out these episodes from 2 to 3, I mean, it's insane. I remember Darren bringing me into her office one time and being like, this is what I have to deal with. And I mean, it is crazy. So was it harder to keep all of that stuff sort of on track and during the pandemic?
Yeah, we were all falling behind like crazy. Oh, no, we didn't stay on track at all.
Okay. This pink. Oh, it's a poly. Yes.
Did you know from the start that the Calamity Trio wouldn't stay in Amphibia, or did you decide that like in the later seasons?
Calamity Trio. I have to ask you the question.
Oh, sorry.
Calamity Trio. You know they were not going to stay in Amphibia.
You're like from Galaxy Quest.
Yes.
Who has to repeat the yeah. Sigourney Weaver.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. And so I've always been like a huge fan of like kind of bittersweet endings. I love them. I love them so much. One of my favorite books ever is The Golden Compass, and I don't know if you guys know how that trilogy ends, but it's really sad, but like also very fulfilling. And I think that the thing about bittersweet endings is sort of like you're really putting some truth in there. You know what I mean? Like, oh, it's difficult, but I think there's something in here that might help me down the line.
this gentleman here in the sort of blue. Yes, you. Yes.
Nice shirt.
What was it like getting Rebecca Sugar on your Amphibia episodes? And you are working with her on something else?
Yes, I'm still working with Rebecca. Rebecca's awesome. One of my best creative experiences too was working on season 1 of Steven Universe. Like that was such a great, everyone was so excited, and that show was really doing some things that I feel like no animated show had done yet. It was great, you know. So basically I approached Rebecca and I was like, a holiday episode, you know what I mean? You write a song. And she's like, I was like, it's a Christmas episode. She's like, you know I'm Jewish, right? I was like, oh, yeah. But you know,
It's a Jewish episode.
But in the great tradition of amazing Jewish writers writing Christmas songs,
yes.
many of which are,
Yeah.
Rebecca wrote us this incredible song that was all about how like this holiday can mean lots of things for different people, and that's why. Have you heard this song? It's crazy. It starts with like a bucket of fried chicken, like, you know, a costume for your dad, you know, like it's just listing all these things that make up this time of year for people. Working with Rebecca was awesome, and I remember she was like, so you want it to be like a folk song? I was like, yes. She was like, who's your favorite folk singer? And I was like, oh God, I don't know. It's like Bob Dylan or like whatever. I was like Simon and Garfunkel. She's like, so you want it to be like one of the greatest songs ever written? I was like, could you please? And I was like, you have 2 weeks. No, Rebecca was amazing.
All right. I don't know where my timer is, but we will say 2 more questions. What about? Yes.
I wanted to ask about Joe Sparrow and how that was the person in the
Joe Sparrow.
Your question is about the man or the bird?
the relationship between the man and the bird. Like,
The relationship between the man and the bird, the human man and.
So Joe Sparrow is actually coming here for the Nucleus panel. I don't know if anyone else is also going to be at that, but Joe is just this incredibly sweet British artist who just has talent oozing out of his fingertips, and he signed on to the show very early. Oh, hey. You guys. I know that man. He came onto the show very early, and he really became the lead character designer, and honestly the voice, like in terms, when it comes to the characters, that's his style. So when it comes to the bird, Joe Sparrow, basically we're like, Marcy, she should ride something, right? And someone was like, a bird? I was like, yeah, bird fits for Marcy. And then someone was like, what about a sparrow? And I was like, why don't we just call it Joe Sparrow? Like, everyone will think that's really funny later, you know, like it's named after the artist. But we just asked him, like, oh, and I think in the design handout he got the bird. He was like, what? You know, like, it says like Joe Sparrow, like design Joe Sparrow. Anyway, but I think he was chuffed, as they say over there.
Yeah, and it really spoke to a lot of people who connected Joe Sparrow to the character Joe Sparrow. Yeah. Yes. Okay, let's do one more question. How about this young lady right here?
I was wondering, what are your biggest inspirations and
Influences as a writer.
You kind of threw me a curveball. You said as a writer. I was
Yeah.
like, well, let me tell you.
I like the specificity of that question.
Like a
yeah.
Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, wow, as a writer. You know, everything I really learned about writing was from Gravity Falls, like the balance of the character story with the kind of supernatural high stakes, like marrying those two things together. I loved it so much. I really think that was like my crash course in writing, which was basically Alex would hand me like an episode that was 26 minutes and be like, it's gotta be 24 minutes somehow. And so then I would sit in editorial and I would just like hack away at it. And I loved it. I loved, like, editing is writing, you guys. Like, you're in there in editorial, because when you remove parts from a story, you'll be left with like the bare essentials for what makes it really work. And then you'll find that like that actually makes a better movie or story or whatever.
But sometimes if you only
Go on.
I remember Peter Jackson saying that if you have to take the entire thing away. If you leave something dangling or half of a story or something that it
Oh yeah, you
cause
can't,
problems.
out.
So you have to be ruthless.
Yeah, you have to like really cut some jokes and stuff that you thought were just like the funniest things ever, you know, like that kind of thing.
Yeah. I like that, you know, the Gravity Falls was very high stakes, and you guys worked intensely on that show. And that I appreciated just talking to you about making Amphibia, that you wanted it to be sort of less pressure than Gravity Falls.
Yeah,
With
yeah,
the same
yeah.
amount of creativity.
Yeah. So I mean, when we started Gravity Falls, we were all like, I was like 22, and we stayed really late, and like, although
Alex was sleeping under his
Yeah.
desk.
It was like, it was a grind. It was amazing experience. But yeah, especially for Amphibia season 1, I really wanted people to like go home and like see their families and like find a nice work-life balance, which is, I think, something that really helped with the pastoral setting and things.
Yeah. Any movement on the? I know people want a Blu-ray box set, a la Gravity Falls. Anything? Any movement there?
A zero movement on the box
Somebody
set.
has a hashtag on Twitter.
Yeah, I wish them all the best.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, you tell me when physical media starts shaking out. Like, I mean, we'll.
All right, we're
we'll
gonna
get
work.
on
We're gonna
it.
work on this.
We gotta do one thing at a time.
Okay.
Books, movies, and then stage shows. You know, and
Amphibia on ice.
No.
Yes. All right, I think that's it for now, but we will be set up here in just a minute and bring up your books.
By the way, you guys know Drew wrote the book. He's amazing, and he's also like, he's a bit of like an animation historian. He knows so much.